Have you ever wanted to really get to know someone, like someone whose life has made a real difference, someone whose impact is still felt today? But then you realize that getting to the heart of their story, well, it can seem overwhelming.
It can feel like there's just too much information out there.
Right. Today, we're going to try to do just that. We are diving deep into the life and teachings of Shree Sai Baba.
With a focus on the Shree Sai Satcharitra.
Yes, using the Shree Sai Satcharitra and all the amazing stories it contains to give you a clear picture of who this revered figure was.
So in this deep dive, we want to uncover those key understandings, those surprising details, and memorable moments that truly illuminate who Sai Baba was.
And what his devotees experienced, all without getting bogged down in information overload. So where do we even begin? The Satcharitra starts by placing Sai Baba in this vast spiritual lineage, almost like tracing his roots.
It's so interesting how the very beginning of the Satcharitra immediately sets this tone. It's not just Sai Baba appearing out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It starts with this incredible opening reference, offering salutations to this long line of spiritual figures, starting with Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankar.
Oh, wow, the big three.
Exactly. And then it goes on to Narayana, described as the Adi Purusha of his family. So think of that term Adi Purusha as like the foundational ancestor, the one who establishes this lineage going way back.
Like the ultimate spiritual patriarch.
Exactly. And then there's this extensive list of rishis and saints, both ancient and then more recent figures, like Jnanadev and Tukaram, really showing this deep connection to Indian spiritual tradition.
It's almost like a spiritual family tree, going back centuries.
And it's not just these really important figures, but there are also these very personal acknowledgments.
Oh, that's right, the author's family.
Exactly. The author specifically acknowledges his grandfather, his father, mother, even the aunt who raised him, and his elder brother.
So it blends the divine and the human right from the start.
Right from the very beginning. And this blend is really important as we go further, because one of the things that you encounter in the Satcharitra are all of these accounts that suggest this presence beyond the ordinary.
Yes, this idea that Baba had an almost knowing awareness, that there was this sense of the miraculous surrounding him. And it starts right away.
It does. It really does. Even the way the author himself introduces his own journey to Shirdi in 1910, he talks about this seemingly random encounter with a stranger on the train. This stranger gives him a crucial piece of advice.
Like a chance meeting that leads to something much bigger.
Exactly. If the author hadn't met that stranger, he might not have made it to Shirdi as planned. So beyond just a helpful encounter, it kind of sets up this idea of unexpected guidance appearing when you're on the right path, even from seemingly ordinary sources.
Yes, it's almost like the journey itself was divinely orchestrated.
And then you have that very early story about the private conversation, remember? That the author and others were having some distance away, and somehow Sai Baba knew all the details, even though he was physically somewhere else.
It makes you wonder, how could he possibly know?
Right. The author even mentions his surprise, pointing out the distance between Sabi's Wada, where they were having this conversation, and the masjid where Sai Baba was. So it raises this question. Did Sai Baba have this omniscience? Was he aware of everything happening even at a distance?
That's wild. And then, of course, there's the very name Hemanpant that Sai Baba gives to the author. Now, that name sounds pretty significant, but the author himself felt pretty ordinary.
He did.
What do you think it means then? Why would Sai Baba bestow this title on someone who considered himself so average?
Well, we have to remember Hemadpant was a pretty important historical figure, a minister known for his wisdom, good deeds, and even for developing the Modi script. So for Sai Baba to call this ordinary author by that name suggests something deeper is going on, maybe a recognition of some hidden potential in him. Or, as the author wondered, a way to encourage humility.
It's like Sai Baba saw something in him that he didn't even see in himself.
It could also be a way of connecting him to that legacy of wisdom and service that was embodied by the original Hemadpant.
Right, it's symbolic link.
Yeah.
And then we have those amazing accounts of divine intervention, like Kakasaheb Dixit's vision of the deity Vithal. And then right after, a hawker just happens to appear selling the exact same image.
You can't help but be struck by these kinds of stories in the Satcharitra. They really emphasize this idea of a manifested divine presence.
Like the timing was just too perfect to be a coincidence.
Right. It seems to suggest that there was something more than just chance at play. At least that's how the devotees experienced it.
And these weren't just these, grand cosmic occurrences. There were very personal interventions, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the story of Bhagwan and his deceased father's worship.
where Baba was aware that Bhagwantaro had been neglecting his father's spiritual practices after his death, and Baba intervened to make sure that worship continued.
It really shows how Sai Baba cared deeply about the spiritual lives of his devotees. It wasn't just about miracles for show. It was about guiding them on their path.
And his teaching methods were often quite unique. They seemed to go beyond just conventional instruction.
Oh, absolutely. Like the incident with Dasganu wanting to go to Prayag.
Dasganu expressed this strong desire to visit the sacred site of Prayag. Instead of just giving permission or a blessing, Baba manifested the Ganga and Yamuna rivers flowing from his own feet. It's this incredibly direct, personal demonstration of the sacred, as if he was saying, look, the divine isn't necessarily far away at some pilgrimage site. My Prayag is right here.
It was a powerful way to show that the sacred can be found anywhere.
And then we have the development of Shirdi itself as a major pilgrimage site, marked by those 3 important wadas.
Yes, tell us about their significance.
Well, they really reflect the growing number of pilgrims who were drawn to Shirdi. Satswada was that first lodging place, really crucial in those early days. Then Dixit's Wada, built by Kakasaheb Dixit out of his deep devotion to Sai Baba. And finally, Buddhi's Wada, which eventually became the Samadhi Mandir.
The place where Sai Baba's physical body rests.
Exactly. These wadas were central to the experience of visiting Shirdi. And, it wasn't just people of one faith who were drawn there.
Right. There's that beautiful story of Pai Krishnaji Alibakar and the dream that directed him to Shirdi instead of Akalkat.
Even though he was a devotee of Akalkat Maharaj, he had this dream telling him to go to Shirdi. And that led to the installation of the padukas, the footprints, under the Neem Shree, a site that remains deeply revered today.
It's like his devotion led him in this unexpected direction.
And alongside those Hindu traditions, there was this element of interfaith harmony. Remember the sandal processions started by a Muslim devotee?
Yes, it ran right alongside the Hindi flag processions. What a beautiful testament to inclusivity.
It was. It was started by a Muslim devotee, Amir Shakar Dalal, in honor of Muslim saints. It ran alongside the Hindu flag processions during the annual fair, and they continued harmoniously.
A true demonstration of the accepting atmosphere surrounding Sai Baba.
And then, of course, we have these incredible stories that reveal his deep compassion. The incident with the blacksmith's child where Baba thrust his arm into the fire is unforgettable.
Such a powerful act of selflessness.
The child was in danger, and without hesitation, Baba acted to save him, willing to bear the pain himself. And then he refused conventional medical treatment, relying instead on the service of the leper devotee Bagoji Shinde.
It seems to point to a deeper understanding of healing.
An interconnectedness that goes beyond just the physical. And, the Satcharitra isn't just a collection of stories. It also delves into these important philosophical points, like the special value of human birth.
Why is there this emphasis on it?
Well, the text explains that while all beings share basic needs and instincts, it's human beings who have this capacity for knowledge. This opens up the potential for God realization, something that's considered unattainable in other forms of life.
So even celestial beings might envy human birth, seeing it as a precious opportunity.
Exactly. And yet, despite this high value placed on human existence, Sai Baba himself lived this life of incredible simplicity.
Oh yes, his daily practice of begging for food, it's a powerful image.
Every single day he would beg for food, and then whatever he received, he would share it indiscriminately with dogs, cats, crows, everyone.
It's a beautiful illustration of detachment and seeing the divine in all beings.
He transcended all those human concerns about status and preference. And Baba also had these subtle ways of guiding his devotees, sometimes even testing them.
Like that story with Mr. Tarkad forgetting to include an offering during his puja.
Even though Baba was physically distant, he knew about the oversight and revealed it to Mr. Tarkad's wife. It reminds us of the importance of mindfulness and intention, because, nothing escapes Baba's awareness.
He sees everything. And yet, despite all of these displays of power and wisdom, he always remained humble.
His humility was so profound.
Calling himself a slave of slaves, an insect.
Even though he was revered by so many.
It seems almost paradoxical.
It does, but it speaks to a deep understanding of his place in the larger scheme of things. A powerful lesson in transcending the ego, even when surrounded by adoration. And the Satcharitra also goes into these core Vedantic concepts, like Sagun and Nirgun Brahman.
How did Sai Baba's devotees perceive him in relation to these ideas?
They saw him as God incarnate. The Sagun Brahman, the manifested form of the formless Nirgun Brahman. Think of it like this. Nirgun is the ocean, vast and formless, while Sagun is a wave from that ocean.
Taking on a temporary form.
Exactly. And the Satcharitra highlights Baba's qualities of forgiveness, tolerance, inner freedom, all evidence of this divine nature made visible.
And that divinity seemed to transcend traditional boundaries, as we see in the story of Muley Shastri, the learned Brahmin scholar.
Initially, he was skeptical of Baba, maybe even a little proud of his own knowledge, but then he had this incredible experience of seeing his own guru, Golap Swami, in the form of Sai Baba.
So powerful, showing that the divine can take on many forms.
And that true recognition goes beyond those surface differences in our spiritual paths. Then there's the concept of dakshina, the offering made to Sai Baba.
It seems like it was more than just a financial transaction.
Much more. It was a way to teach charity and help devotees detach from their attachment to money. The underlying principle: what is given with a pure heart will be returned manifold.
And the Satcharitra gives the example of Mr. Gempatra Bodas, who never lacked for anything after emptying his bag before Baba.
Exactly. Showing that sometimes acts of giving can open up unexpected avenues. And even small acts of devotion didn't go unnoticed. Remember the story of Mr. Cholkar's vow to offer sugar candy if he passed his exam?
And Baba gave him that fully saturated tea. It was like a subtle fulfillment of the vow.
It shows how Baba was aware of his devotees' intentions, even their unspoken promises. And, the Satcharitra doesn't shy away from talking about some of the big spiritual challenges.
Right, like overcoming greed.
Baba emphasizes that as long as we're attached to worldly possessions, true spiritual realization is going to be difficult. He compares the love of money to a dangerous whirlpool.
Something they can pull you under.
The key message is this: purify your mind, let go of clinging desires, and that's how you'll progress spiritually. And then, of course, there are all those moments where Baba seems to communicate with his devotees on this deeper level.
Like Mr. Safe's vision about continuing the sapta.
Right. His vision, and then at the same time, Hemadpat had the same thought. And Baba responds immediately in a way that's relevant to both of them.
It's like this inner guidance, a telepathic connection.
And we see this again in the story of Shama and the two pies dakshina.
It wasn't about the money at all, was it?
Not at all. Baba himself said that his two pies were firm faith and patience. Those were the true offerings he sought.
He valued those inner qualities far more than any material donation. And Sai Baba himself spoke about his own guru, emphasizing this deep, unwavering devotion.
He described a 12-year relationship with his guru, filled with love, constant presence, and this complete reliance.
What are some of the key insights we can take from those passages about the guru-disciple relationship?
Well, Baba stresses the importance of making the guru the sole focus of your thoughts and actions. True happiness and spiritual attainment, he said, come from this steadfast focus, from complete surrender.
And we see so many instances of Baba's protective grace in the Satcharitra, like the snake on Bala Saheb's waist during the Chitali trip.
That could have been dangerous, but Baba seemed to have foreseen it and protected his devotee.
And then there are those stories about the scorpion and the serpent appearing during readings. What was Sai Baba's perspective on those events?
Well, instead of advocating for harming the creatures, he emphasized compassion, the understanding that all life forms are ultimately under divine command.
Even snakes and scorpions.
Even those, and even when people tried to test him, like that doubting yogi.
His doubts were quickly dispelled.
The yogi questioned the simplicity of Baba's meal, right?
Yes, he was wondering how Baba could eat such a simple meal.
And Baba responded, saying that he had the power to digest even something as potent as a raw onion. That led to the yogi's complete surrender.
It's yet another example of how Baba perceived beyond the surface and addressed the inner thoughts of those around him.
And then there's that unusual story, the ordeal of Guru Bhakti with the goat and the different devotees.
It's a bit of a strange one, isn't it?